survival bags. An EDC bag, everyday carry. Bag. A get-home bag, a bug-out bag. An inch bag, I'm never coming home bag. All kinds of super tactical survival bags. That's what we're going to talk about today, survival bags. Welcome to Gunfighter Life, the podcast where we talk about guns, gunfighting, tactics, ballistics, gear, the right way with God Almighty at the center, biblical, Judeo-Christian values, and real-world firsthand experience. I am blessed to be your host, Michael Melito, military, law enforcement, private security contracting, longtime hunter, guide, competition shooter, and some other stuff, bio bullet points in the show notes. Let's talk about bags. This is not a complete list of everything in each bag. That would get rather monotonous. And I've done some of that stuff before with content. What I want to visit today is the different types of bags. Maybe you have a blending of these bags, or maybe for you, do it a la carte style and pick and choose what best fits your needs. I'm going to say this is in addition to your EDC, right? What I hope is your full-size fighting handgun, your fixed blade knife, your extra ammunition, your backup blade, right? Your wallet, your cell phone, a tourniquet, right? Your EDC. What I'm hoping is your EDC. So if I don't mention like a full-size fighting handgun in your EDC bags, because you should have it on you. And if you're not, then maybe stop being a victim or a potential victim and carry a handgun on your hip. A full-size fighting handgun, a fixed blade knife, or if you prefer a folder, fine. But you get the idea. This is in addition to your EDC. A flashlight, right? Your just general EDC, the stuff that's in your pockets, the stuff that's on your belt. This is in addition to EDC. Okay, let me talk about kind of going from smallest to largest. Your EDC bag. I have one of these for a long, long time. I've kind of blended it with another bag now, but an EDC bag, something like a small sling bag, which is just a supplemental to your EDC, everyday carry. Now, you could argue and say this is not everyday carry because you don't have it on you all the time, but it's a bag that you generally have on you or very close to you. Like, let's say you're going into work to, be an office chair jockey in a cubicle. You bring your EDC bag and you put it, in your drawer of your desk. Maybe it's not on you, but it's really close by. Could be a small sling bag. It could be a laptop bag if that's your environment. I don't know how many women are going to listen to this, but it could be a decent-sized purse, I guess. I guess women are like the best at the EDC bag, right? Most of them have one. But this kind of bag that is a supplemental to additional stuff that you may want, that you generally aren't going to carry on your person all the time. Good things to have. This is not, again, not everything, but just general things you might find in one's EDC bag. Extra ID, like an extra wallet. How many times have you forgotten your wallet? You could have an extra ID. Maybe it's a passport. Another important thing you might want to have in here, or photocopies of your original documents, just in case. Any important documents that you might need, like photocopy of your CCW. Yeah, you're supposed to have the actual one, but it's better to have a photocopy than nothing. Or if you have any kind of security clearance is germane to my job a lot of the times, private security contracting, things like that. Having a copy of that might be good. DD-214. You get the idea. Just important documents you might want in here. Snacks, Tactical snacks, right? Something like a real easy, good one is dried peanuts. They're cheap, they're easy, they're healthy. Peanut butter is good too, and it's just easier to eat in a civilized setting. Just, peanuts or mixed nuts, that's a good one. Quest bars or whatever your go-to protein bar is. Beef jerky, right? You get the idea, like a good manly snack. That way you have something and you don't have to go out for fast food or some kind of garbage if you forget your lunch or whatever. You get the idea. Snacks. You may want to carry a water bottle on your EDC bag, especially if you're in that kind of environment. These are super common nowadays. You might want to carry a metal, single-walled, not insulated water bottle for several reasons. One, you can boil water in it if you have to. Two, it can be a pretty nasty melee weapon if you keep a piece of 550 cord or something on it so you can swing it, especially filled with water. It's a pretty nasty weapon. It's one of my general go-tos when I go to an airline and get on a flight, right? It's one of the best weapons I can have. Another one, I don't generally EDC mace on my person, pepper spray, capsaicin, right? But you might want to do that. A real common one in today's world, battery pack or packs with the cable or cables. One of the times I actually had to bug out for real, CONUS, continental United States, was my wife and I were living in northern Arizona and we had mandatory evacuation wildfire. I mean, it was right where we were at. And wouldn't you know it, I checked my phone and it was at like a few percent. It was almost dead. And I was trying to contact my wife, which drains battery really fast. Just for the mundane or for the emergency, those battery packs can come in really handy. There are some that, have the solar backup. There are some that also are a flashlight or have a compass. You can get as multifunctional as you can go that route if you want, but just a good solid battery pack. Some of them have the cables, if not have the appropriate cables. Also, if you're in the 21st century, having like your EDC flashlight be rechargeable so you don't have to worry about batteries or things like that, battery packs come in handy for that as well. In addition to whatever ammo you might keep on your person, you may have some extra ammo in your EDC bag. You may have a secondary flashlight, lock picks if you know how to do that sort of thing, right? And whatever else you think you might want in there, but a small, easy to carry bag that's pretty inconspicuous. And I carried one of these for a long time, and I may again in the future, but I did this more when I lived in more urban environments, right? When I was the commander of a tactical team to stop active shooters in a large metropolitan area. Because in big cities, a lot of times you have to park far away from where you are. I might have to park and walk miles to where I'm going. I might be a long way from my vehicle. So the EDC bag really comes in handy in urban environments where you have to deal with horrible things like parking garages, where I might be away from my vehicle for hours and hours at a time, and it's not easy just to go back to my car. In that kind of environment, those EDC bags come in pretty handy. It's a busy day. I'm not going to be able to take a lunch. I don't want to get some vending machine garbage. I've got, decent backup snacks that'll get me through a day in my EDC bag. Not a big deal, not a crazy survival situation, just a good thing to have. You may have some more long-term survival stuff in there if you want, but an EDC bag, a light, mobile bag that you're going to use all the time. Don't make the mistake that I did when I was first getting started. Like, I have this thing and it's like a time capsule. Like, I'm only going to use it in case of the apocalypse. What happens is you don't use the stuff. You forget that it's in there. Then if you really need it, you just don't even think about it because you never use it. Have a bag that you're going to use. But that's more or less your EDC bag. And again, not an exhaustive list. Medical stuff you can have in there, from the mundane Neosporin and Band-Aids to an actual medical emergency kit. But you get the idea. That's your EDC bag. The next one is really purely tactical, but it's the next one up in size. It's your bailout bag. It's probably going to live in your truck or in your trunk, and it's a bailout bag. It's mostly just tactical stuff. Again, you can blend two things together. You can make your bug out bag also be your bailout bag or whatever, but it's not really what it is. Essentially, a bailout bag is just a weapon system or system primary and secondary weapon system support kit. I was a law enforcement officer. These are common in law enforcement circles. You have like a bag that if the crap hits the fan, there's a big incident, you grab it, and it's got your tactical stuff. It's got several extra magazines for rifle and pistol, or extra shotgun ammo and pistol, right? Primary, secondary. It's got like extra tourniquets. Might have a bigger fixed blade knife in there. Extra radio, comms, but it's like a tactical, like in the strictest tactical sense of the word, like a small, mobile, tactical bag with mostly ammo and tourniquets and things like that in it. So if they grab it and go, I'm going to a big incident, active shooter, aftermath, I got a triage, whatever it is, I've got that stuff. I've got my extra ammo, I've got my emergency medical, you get the idea. That's my bailout bag. If you're running NVGs or things like that, they might be in your bailout bag, but it's strictly a tactical bag, but it's usually the next biggest in size. Now let's talk about the get-home bag as a concept. The get-home bag, again, unless you're going to blend it, it's not a bug-out bag. It's not for bugging out. It's for getting home. The opposite of bugging out is for getting home to bug in, or maybe to get home to resupply and then grab your bug-out bag, but it's a get-home bag. As such, in my opinion, it should be light and mobile. It should be to get you home. Caveat, if you live really, really far from home, like if you routinely travel out of state or hundreds and hundreds of miles from home, it might as well be your bug-out bag, because it's going to be a long bug-out procedure to get home, if that's even your plan. If you're young and single, live in an apartment, and you work or you live in a crap hole and you work somewhere better, you may just never want to go home. But you get the idea. In general, for most people, the average commute, when I tried to look it up, somewhere 25, 30 miles or less, it's a small, mobile, get-home bag. Now, you could just use your EDC bag if you live really close. But you may want some extra things that you wouldn't have, or you may want to combine your EDC bag and your bug-out bag, and your get-home bag, rather. And that's what I've done recently. One, because I live in a much colder climate now. Even if it's a short, even if I have to go, my distance is more like 40 miles. If I have to do that, and it's the middle of winter, and it's snowing, or even worse than snowing, like 33 degrees and raining, I'm going to need a little bit more kit than I would normally have used in my EDC bag. So my get-home bag. Important things for this. Extra socks, extra socks, extra socks. That may sound mundane, but take it from an old infantryman. Your feet are really important. Your arms can't do any fighting unless your feet get you there. Having bloody feet and having mile after mile after mile to go with, blood running out of your boots, that's a bad day. Again, this is meant to get you home. So extra socks, a bunch of different kinds of tape like duct tape and athletic tape for mostly foot care. Like, again, you start getting bloody feet. If you know how to use tape or moleskin or whatever, you can do that. If you twist your ankle or roll something, that athletic tape can help. Not just your water bottle that you might have on your EDC bag, but a good single-wall metal water bottle and a way to purify water, whether that's just a simple lightweight straw-type water purification or even lighter and simpler, the water purification tablets. Again, this is a get-home bag in an acute situation. You probably don't need to ruck an entire Berkey. Berkeys are great, but that's not the place for this. I think Berkey makes a water bottle. But anyway, you get the idea. So you don't have to, unless you live in the Southwest and you're just not going to be able to resupply with water, in which case that's going to make your bag heavier. But most places, there'll be somewhere you can stop and get water. And assuming you can purify it, that's going to be better than carrying all of it with you at once. So your get-home bag, water purification. If you think it on the shelter, you're going to need something to keep you alive. Even if you think, unless you live really close. If you live like 10 miles away or 5 miles away or something, maybe not. But if you live what could potentially be an overnight ordeal, you need something that's going to keep you alive through the night. You don't have to be comfortable. Not going to be the best night's sleep you ever had. You don't need a full sleep system, in my opinion, unless you live in like northern Alberta, in which case you may. But you need something that will keep you alive. The old Ranger roll, right, poncho and poncho liner, it's a good one. I have something similar in my kit. An emergency shelter, like a rain shelter, the poncho or something like it, a tarp, an ultralight tarp. A way to make a fire, assuming you're in a permissive environment, you can make a fire. Obviously, you should have fire starting material in this bag, but you get the idea. Maybe not the best night's sleep you ever had. You may not even sleep, but something where you can hunker down, or let's say you do twist your ankle or break your leg or something, that's going to keep you alive until you can figure something out. But you should be able to weather at least a night, I think, with your get-home bag, even if you don't think it's going to take you a day, in my opinion. Again, unless you live really close. If you live 3 miles from work, you probably don't need a get-home bag. Probably your EDC bag is fine. You should be able to run that far. But that's your get-home bag to get you home. Resist the urge of making it super heavy and making it a bug-out bag. I'm going to take this to do a short Patreon thing. One of the reasons I'm doing this is because I had the patrons, people on Patreon, vote for content. This was one of the winners, talking about different survival bags. And I put out something like 9 topics. They get to vote. If you want to vote, you can go to Patreon. You can sign up as a free member. I try to remember, I can't say I'm perfect yet, but I try to remember the voting polls for the listener audiences like this one that got this content. I try to make that just open for anybody that's on Patreon. So you can go to Patreon. You can just scroll through it if you want. You don't have to pay any money or anything. But patrons get a lot of special insider-only content. A lot of audio that you're just not going to get unless you're on there, or you're a really good hacker, I guess. But audio you're just not going to get. We have, discussion boards. We have all that stuff. And it's not just me helping people. There's a lot of people on there with a lot more experience than me. I'm not the world's greatest comm guy to know about like ham radios and stuff, right? There's guys on there that know a lot more than me. It's a cool community to have that. And if you want to support the podcast, that's the best way to do it. Small business, American, veteran-owned, all the buzzwords, the hashtags, whatever, right? So if you want to support the podcast, consider going to Patreon. There should be a link in the show notes. And again, if you want to just consider a donation, that's great, but because this is work. But you do get a lot of insider-only content. All right, with that, let's get to the next bag, the bug-out bag. And a lot of people just call this anything a bug-out bag. But to me, a bug-out bag is for bugging out. It's like you're at work or you're at home and you're leaving. You're bugging out. That's what bugging out is. If you're going home, you're not bugging out, you're going home. A bug-out bag should have all your survival things, right? Your fire, your water, your shelter, your protection, your defense, right? Which this should be a system, right? It should include your survival long gun of choice, whatever that is, shotgun, 22. We've had that debate before. We could have that debate ad nausea. But whether it's your AR-7 survival lightweight 22 or it's your 308 battle rifle, your long gun of choice and supplemental gear to support that, cleaning kit, small parts, extra ammo, right? Bayonet for your ammo contingency plan. That's all part of this system, although you may have smaller bags that attach. But all your survival stuff. A large fixed blade knife, if it's not in your other bags, right? A large fixed blade knife should be in your bug out bag. Now, I don't care what it is, right? It could be a Mora knife, or it could be your bayonet, your M9 bayonet, or your K-bar, or pick your tactical fixed blade, whatever you like, right? But a large fixed blade knife, or a smaller knife and a hatchet, something like that. Some utility tools, one of those pocket saws, stuff for a longer term duration thing. Probably more than you'd have in your get home bag, like for shelter. Because this may be a long duration thing where you don't have more permanent physical shelter. So you want to actually be able to sleep. Whereas the get home bag, I may just want to be able to survive for the night. Long term, you need sleep. You can go a day or 2 or 3 without sleep, but after that, you really start dragging. So having a decent means of sleep, like an actual, unless you live somewhere really warm, like an actual sleeping bag, at least a partial pad for your hips, for your back. Maybe it doesn't need to be a full-length sleeping pad. That depends on how much you need comfort. You get the idea. A decent sleep system, a decent shelter. If you're good with tarps, probably just a really good tarp. If you're not good with tarps, a decent small tent or a bivy sack, but a decent way to sleep in austere environments. Obviously, you're going to want fire redundancy, probably a couple of ways. Just a simple lighter is good. Also a ferro rod or something like it, even if you know how to make primitive fires like a caveman. You probably still want an easier way to do it in case you're just tired or hungry or you broke your fingers or whatever it is, right? Easy way to make fire. Having a fire kit in this kind of bag makes a lot of sense. Calories. Yeah, you should be able to get your own calories and forage and hunt and things like that, but just having calories is easier, at least in the acute or for emergencies. The Coast Guard survival rations are really good. They have a lot of nutrients in them. They're really calorie dense, but any kind of really calorie dense food, peanut butter is a good one for this. A giant bag of almonds is a classic, right? Whatever, but some good calories with fat and protein in your bug out bag. Longer duration, if you know how to trap, maybe some snare wire. And if you don't know how to trap, don't just put snare wire in there unless you wanted to repair something. You may want something like a multi-tool in this bag. You may want that in your EDC bag depending on your line of work, but in this bag you may want a multi-tool. You certainly want to get some good navigation, maps of your area, topo maps. If you live in an urban environment, meaning anywhere east of the Mississippi, you probably want city maps, street maps, road maps. You get the idea there. Definitely going to want to change the clothes in this bag. You may have wanted one in your bug out bag, but you certainly want to change the clothes in this bag. Maybe a couple. Maybe you want, an extra pair of pants and 2 or 3 extra shirts. Wool, because wool shirts. Some kind of pants that aren't jeans. Jeans are horrible for survival. They're cotton, they're blue. They're just stop with the blue jeans. It's not a fashion show. But a good pair of pants, obviously extra socks, extra shirts, and warming layers, obviously. Probably want some kind of rain suit, rain system in most places. Again, maybe not if you live in the Mojave or, the Sonoran Desert, but most other places you're probably going to want rain gear. Good, more long-term water purification, where the get-home bag, you may be fine with just a handful of water purification tablets. You may want a more long-term, and I know you can boil water, but it takes a ton of energy and a ton of time. A more speedy, long-term way to purify water. You can do your own research on that. Multivitamins, that might be a good one. Antibiotics, that might be a good one. But more long-term, sustainable survival stuff is kind of your idea for your bug out bag. And a lot of this is going to depend on your environment, where you're bugging out to. And then we get to like the super bug out bag, the inch bag, the I'm never coming home bag. Or probably the more appropriate term, you're a refugee now bag. But pretty much anything you would ever want in your bag, you're never going home. So in addition to the stuff we talked about in the other bags, you may want a fungible asset, tradable wealth for even in most scenarios, even for the first couple of weeks, people are probably going to take cash, right? You may want this in your EDC bag, but like a week or two after most big scenarios, if you wave around $1,000 in cash, you can probably get some food or something. Most people aren't into prepper novels. Most people don't know what an EMP is, right? Most people are just going to think that the government's going to take care of them and the power is going to come back on. So cash, you still get stuff for cash. I'm not talking about stealing. I'm just talking about, if a vending machine still takes cash and you have cash, for some reason it still works, you get the idea. Silver, gold, a money belt maybe. So that when you get where you're going, because you're never going home, maybe you can get started. Maybe you don't want to carry an axe and a shovel or whatever, but you can get it when you get there. Probably all your important documents, copies of, or originals in your inch bag, right? Because you're not going home to get your originals ever. That's I'm never going home again bag. You get to where you're going, you might need a job. You might need to make a living. You might need to actually do something. It's probably not like a prepper novel where you're just going to be a warlord and women are going to flock to you like the salmon of Capistrano because you have a big survival bag. Probably not really going to happen. You're probably actually going to have to do something. So whatever skills you have, whatever tools might help you in those skills to have a trade, might want those in your bag, depending on what, that might be. That documentation to prove that you are who you say you are. Everybody, it seems like in these post-apocalyptic things, somebody just goes and there's going to be security. Well, if you got a lot of mouths to feed and somebody actually does need security in their town they're trying to keep up or whatever, and you show up in that town, nobody knows you from Adam, you have that documentation. Well, why should I hire you for my security? Well, here's my DD-214, here's my combat action ribbon, here's my, federal security clearance. Here's my F.B.I. certifications, my advanced weapons instructor certifications, bam. Probably get me a decent job as security in a decent-sized city. I'm just throwing out scenarios there. But if you're never going home, those things probably should be in your inch bag. Antibiotics, medication. I don't really think about this because I'm not on any medication, praise God. But if you are, those medications, the names of those medications are alternate things. Like, I don't know, I think there's like different names for the same drug or whatever. Not really my world, but if you need something to keep you alive, you probably should know all the different names of it so you can ask for it and get it and a way to pay for it and all that kind of stuff. Also, maybe things that are valuable to you, that are important to you. Family heirlooms, I don't know, your parents' wedding rings, whatever it is. Maybe you have to trade those off, but if you don't, it'd be a good thing to pass down. You get what I mean there. Things that are important, significant to you. Photos. I don't know what scenario you're envisioning. Maybe a thumb drive with a bunch of stuff on it. Text, not really my world. But a thumb drive with a bunch of stuff on it, or even if you have a thumb drive, some pictures of really important things that you want to remember or have photos of. Family pictures, wedding picture, you get the idea. Antibiotics, antivirals, yeah, maybe you'll be able to trade for them or barter for them where you get where you're going, but they're probably going to be worth a pretty penny. So having that stuff, antibiotics don't weigh very much, antivirals don't weigh very much, and if you need them, it might be life or death. So just because today a lot of people don't die of infection, in a scenario like you would need an inch bag for, a lot of people may be dying of infection. So consider those kind of things. If you're never coming home, you probably want more clothes for more seasons. You get the idea. An inch bag, I'm never coming home bag. And that's a pretty good roundup, I think. And obviously this is not an exhaustive list, just concepts of what each bag is. To me, you could differ, you could argue and say, no, that's not what a bug out bag is. But I am going to kind of wrap this up with a word of caution. As somebody that rucks regularly, hikes regularly, does a lot of living in the bush in the backcountry, spending time in the backcountry, been a professional hunter and guide. I've been an infantryman. I've spent a lot of time out with bags, living out of bags. Spent a lot of times in urban environments, living out of bags, assault bags, which is one we didn't even talk about. You get the idea. Resist the urge to put a bunch of crap in there you don't need and are not going to use. Resist the urge to make it too heavy. I don't care how big and bad and strong you are, the less stuff you have, the faster you can move. There is a firepower versus mobility equation that any fighter, any infantryman, any person like that can tell you. You can absolutely have too much stuff. Ounces equal pounds and pounds equal pain. So you're going to have to carry stuff. The longer the duration, the more stuff. And you could probably, hopefully, God willing, you could just go out into the bush and survive with just a knife. But the extra stuff is going to make it a lot more feasible and comfortable. But resist the urge to put too much stuff in your kit. In general, 20, I would say 20% if you don't ruck regularly. If you ruck pretty regularly, I mean, once a week or better, you might push it up to 30, 40%, but that's really pushing it. 20% of your healthy body weight, like U.S. Army standards, height and weight standards, not like you should weigh 150, but you weigh 250. It's not, 20% of that. It's 20% of your healthy ideal body weight to maybe 30%. If you're really a pack mule and you ruck all the time and you stay in that kind of shape, maybe 40%. But even then, I don't like to go that heavy. So resist the urge of making your bag too heavy. I've seen that a lot more than people making it too light. And I'm going to use that as your tactical tip of the day. Your tactical verse of the day. I've got one here for you. Has no one condemned you? She said, No one, Lord. Jesus said to her, Neither do I condemn you. Go and sin no more. Then Jesus spoke to them again, saying, I am the light of the world. He who follows me shall not walk in darkness, but have the light of life. Comments, a few things. He forgives the woman of her sin. Right? This is the woman, if you're not familiar, there's a woman caught in adultery. And he says, Has no one condemned you? Neither do I condemn you. He doesn't stop there. He doesn't say, go frolic about and commit adultery again. He says, no, go and sin no more. You're supposed to use that liberty to live free from sin, not to wallow in sin. You should be free from sin. You will be a slave of something, either a servant of God or a slave of sin. Serve God and be free from sin. Go and sin no more. And I don't think I have to tell you, if you've been alive in the past few years, that the world can be a dark, nasty place. There's real evil out there. There's real darkness out there. You're called to be that light. You're called to bring that light into the world. Jesus is the light, like the light. I am the light of the world. He who follows me shall not walk in darkness, but have the light of life. If you're doing that, you have that light in you. Bring it out into the world. Thanks for listening, and have a blessed day.